me to remember how many New Yorkers there are. I have always felt very close to New York because, of course, I lived in Manhattan for more than 3 years. And I loved the city at a time when people thought it was terrible. I particularly loved it at weekends when it was almost empty and I could wander around the streets. One of the main reasons why I loved New York was because it's built like a grid and I have no sense of direction whatsoever. It's the only big city in the world where I've never got lost. And for that I have a special soft spot for New York. And for New Yorkers as well. New York was the first place I came to in the United States, way back in 1968. And when I came to New York, in those days, I think it may surprise some of the younger people, that skyscrapers were only still to be found in New York. And when I got here, I thought, oh, it looks just like the postcards. Somehow, I had never really believed that it would be quite like that. I remembered New York on one day, which would surprise you, the day when I was taken to insane prison. The reason why I remember New York was this. I was taken into the little bungalow where I was to be kept. It was a 5-star residence by Burmese prison standards. And then they opened the door, I walked in, and after they had gone through the preliminaries, the warders went out and they shut the door. It was an iron door and there was this clang. And then there were all these bars on the windows. And I suddenly thought, this is prison. It's just like in the books. It's just the way they write about it. And I remembered my first visit to New York when I was surprised, and yet surprised because I knew it was supposed to be like that, but I'd never experienced it. And I was surprised by the fact that New York was a city of skyscrapers. When I found that prison was really a place where iron doors clanged shut and there were iron bars on the windows, I was surprised. So it really is like this. But I must say it is much better for me than for other people. So the reason why I remembered New York was not because I felt New York was like a prison. But I was interested in the fact that you can be surprised when you find out that things really do happen the way you have learned they happen, or things really are the way you have been told they are. And so I hope you will all understand what it is like to struggle for human rights and democracy in Burma. It is just the way you've heard about it. It may seem to you not quite real until you meet it face to face, and then you know what it is really like to struggle for democracy and freedom. Many young Americans take it for granted because they've had it all their lives. Their parents have had it all their lives. It goes back to the 18th century. Well, not exactly in this form, but anyway, it started evolving in the 18th century. So you take it for granted. I always say to my friends who live in democratic countries, don't take it for granted. When I was back in Oxford as a student, I was always worried when my English friends didn't bother to go to vote. It seemed to me such a waste of an opportunity. Also, a lack of respect for a right that you should guard with your very life. And I would say to them, you must vote. You must use your democratic rights, otherwise they will fade away. You have to keep them alive by practicing all the time your duties as a citizen. And this is what I would like to say to the young people of Queens and to the Burmese community here. You are in a country where you can exercise your democratic rights. You must exercise them with a strong sense of your duty. Duty, I think, is considered a very boring word by some young people. But actually, it is not. Duty is very stimulating. If you really think about what your duty is, and if you try to live up to it, it will prepare you for very many challenges in life. I've always thought that if my mother had not taught me a strong sense of duty, I might not have been able to meet the challenges I had to face. And challenges are exciting. Young people should know that. And the greatest challenges are the ones where you have to struggle with yourself, with your own selfish desire just to look after your own interests. That's in every one of us. It's perfectly natural. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but on the other hand, it's not something that we should indulge. Our world is a global world. Young people here cannot be and should not be ignorant of what young people elsewhere have to undergo. The privileges that you have in this country are such that young people in my country cannot even dream of. Their minds can barely encompass what it means to have all the rights and privileges that you take for granted here. Because I'm speaking to an educational institution, I would like you to know how very ill-educated our young people are in Burma. We have had 50 years of military rule, and during this 50 years, our education system has tottered. I was about to say collapse, but I thought perhaps I would be a little bit more moderate. But it has tottered badly. At one time, Burma was the country with the best education system in Southeast Asia. Our standards were very high, respected the world over. But during these years of authoritarian rule, the standards were gradually eroded. And now, our young people, the great majority of them, are barely educated. 15% of our children do not go to school at all, and those who finish high school are less than 20% of those who do start school. And what they learn up to high school is not adequate to provide them with the means to earn a decent living. So our